This is Sweet Angel coming at you with another video. I'm sorry I haven't posted a video in quite a while. It's been about a month or so, but this is a video that I was honestly thinking about posting, and then I discovered that it's a very important video to discuss because, and I apologize if I'm a little out of sorts, but it's just one of those videos that I'm struggling to find the words to come up with to talk about, because it's the pros and cons of caregiving. Now, I know that a lot of people with disabilities out there can function just as well with and without care providers. But a lot of people don't realize the pros and cons of such I wouldn't call it invasive, but somewhat nosy people. And I'm not pointing fingers at anyone directly here. I'm just merely stating my opinion. This is not, I'm no professional. I'm not certified in anything. I do have an associate's degree in human services, but, as far as, certifications and whatnot, I don't have any certifications other than, personal life experience myself, to talk about this. But I figure since I've had, life experience in this area for the past 16, 17 years of my life, I figured I have, just as much experience as like a professional would. So I'll just give it a whirl, and if you have any questions or comments or concerns or inquiries, I'm basically an open book. And I'll let you know if you've crossed the line. But I think when it comes to caregiving, I'll start with the pros first. But a definite pro is, it's a friend. Now, many people in America, especially where we are here in the States, say that, there needs to be a professional boundary. I agree with that wholeheartedly. If the individual is substantially misfortunate, and what I mean by that is if they don't or can't understand professional boundaries, I apologize, I have an itch, then you have to have a professional boundary. But for somebody like me who benefits greatly from friendships with people because my disability is minor, and I can sit there and, tell you that, yes, I do need help. Yes, I do need help with some things. And as I, get closer and closer in developing my professional career, those needs may or may not change. As I continue to work out and strengthen muscles, that'll may or may not change as well. But for right now, I would definitely say that the caregiving aspect, yes, the pros are you have a friend. Somebody who doesn't, necessarily see your disability. They try to treat you, or at least for the most part, I have had caregivers, and I will not give names, that have looked at me and seen a disability and honestly treated me like a, kindergartner, let's say. And then I've had ones that, have really tried to boost my confidence and, showed me how to advance my career, and do things for myself. And then I've had ones that have just been downright nosy, and I'll get to that in the con section of this video. Secondly, for the pros, you have drivers if you need them. You don't have to call for an Uber. And, you can schedule your, important meetings, doctor's appointments, grocery trips, professional development meetings, interviews, anything of that sort on the days that your people are going to be there. And that helps you and your parents out if you do live with your parents. Thirdly, there's always somebody here. Not always, but for the most part, there's somebody here if you do in fact need help with anything at all regarding your personal needs. They're there to help you. Yes, you might have to teach them how to help you, because obviously one disability does not fit all. It's not going to affect the same person the same way. I have minor cerebral palsy, and if you would like a description, I can do a video specifically on cerebral palsy. But I know several people who have it, who are like me and function very, very well on their own, but they do need help from time to time. And then I know people who, on the other end of the spectrum, who need a substantial amount of assistance and help with lifting and getting in and out of bed, getting dressed, getting, food. Yes, sometimes I do need help with those things, but I'm not as bad off as some people. In that realm. A fourth pro would be that, you have, for the most part, this totally depends on who you have, because I've had some that, let's just say, have made things more difficult for me out in public than they would be if, I was by myself with Valley. And that's another video I can do too. I can do a service dog Q&A video if that's something you would like to see. But for the most part, I have somebody to back me up if I run into a problem. For the most part. Sometimes, like I said, they can cause more of an issue than they would if I was by myself. But, that's neither here nor there. And a fifth pro It's just somebody to encourage you. So, to encourage you to advance your career, to encourage you to try to do things for yourself, to encourage you to learn new skills and new skill sets that you need to live a daily life. Like for me right now, I'm learning how to cook more, and I can do a few recipes, easy recipes. I can't cook a 5-course gourmet meal, but I can at least cook a few meals that, I ain't gonna starve. And they're pretty decent. But that's neither here nor there for now. Now, the harder section of this video. Cons. Definite cons. There are more cons than there are pros. And I tried to be, positive throughout this whole video. But I think a definite con, definitely, is there's always somebody there. And honestly, that's both a pro and a con, because, there are times that, yes, you want to be by yourself. But sometimes state stipulations state that you can't be left alone. And that, like I said, that depends on the individual. And what your personal plan of care is. Now, I can do a video on, personal care directives, or whatever you want to call it. I think that's the term. I should know that. They taught us that in school. But I can do a video on that if you so choose. Secondly, a second con is, I personally feel sometimes, depending on who the person is, and in no way in this video am I trying to point fingers at anyone who may be in this category, but I personally feel that sometimes people are way too nosy. They ask personal and somewhat embarrassing questions, and I know that some of that is they have to when you're sitting in those, meetings, that I'm sure people that have a little bit of services have to, sit down at a round table discussion and discuss your plan of care. But by the same token, if you are one of those people who do need services, 99% of the time, and like I said, I am no professional, but I, from experience, know that 99% of the time, there is a personal, book for everybody that discusses your plan of care, personal plan of care, so that you don't have to go into a lot of great detail when you're interviewing potential care providers, that they can just read that themselves and kind of get to know you. For me personally, let's see, a con. Now, what do I mean when I say people are sometimes a little bit too nosy? For me, I'm not going to discuss specific instances, because it's not what I'm trying to make this video about, is what people have done to me in my life. Because honestly, this is YouTube. I'm not going to put my personal life out there as much as I can without discussing what's going on. And like I said, it's nobody's business what goes on in my life. But I will tell you that sometimes people might, depending on the person, generalistic speaking here, ask so many questions, personal questions, that the individual that they're working for gets overwhelmed. I know I do. And I, as much as possible, sit there and say, I don't feel comfortable talking about this. But they press on anyway. And continue to, ask questions, even though I've answered questions 20 different ways. They continue to do such things. So personally embarrassing questions. I understand that some of that can't be helped. I understand that sometimes you have to ask those questions to inquire about if and when they can reduce services or add to, or cut off services if they need it, or don't need it anymore. However, when you draw the line, me personally, I personally draw the line when they are too involved in my personal life. Like, for example, I have a boyfriend right now. Well, I hope to in, the future as well. He's a great guy. I've lucked out. We've dated almost a year and a half now. His family's wonderful. They love me dearly. And hopefully, in the end, it works out for us. But where I personally draw the line is when they are too nosy about that part of my life. And like I said, I'm not going to call anybody out. I'm doing this as an educational video. I am in no way trying to, call anybody out here. Or point fingers in any direction. But I feel, honestly, sometimes, like some people are just too nosy. Another con would be people who think that just because you're disabled in whatever way, shape, or form, that you can't do anything. That you need more help than what you say you need. That's not always the case. Yes, me personally, I know I need help with some things, and I'm not going to get into those things. But there comes like a time and a place where you just have to sit back and say, what help do I need? And I think that's a very mature thing to say, is to sit there and go, okay, what can I do for myself? If what you can do for yourself outweighs what a care provider could or should do for you, then I think you should have care provider services. If you're like me, and I am in no way trying to sit here and say I'm unhappy with the way things are right now. I'm perfectly happy with them. But I think hindsight's 2020. As I progress towards marriage and all those things. I mean, at least I think we're progressing towards marriage, and maybe we are, maybe we're not. And I'm in no way either trying to sit here and say where we are in our relationship. I mean, if that happens, I'll be happy. If it doesn't, it wasn't meant to be. That's the other thing about me. I'm one of these people that believes that, if it's meant to be, it'll happen. If, for whatever reason, he and I aren't meant to be, then it wasn't meant to be. But as we progress our relationship towards either better friendship or marriage, if that is indeed the goal here, he and I will work those details out ourselves. We don't need somebody from an outside source coming in and saying what we do and don't need. Yes, it's nice to have, your friends and your family's support. And their guidance as well. But ultimately, it's your decision as a client of an agency to decide who and what and when and where and all those things that you want to happen in your life. Nobody is gonna, yes, that's the other thing. While the other con, I'm outweighing myself with the cons here. I know I'm rambling and I apologize, but like I said, it took me about a month to really come up with the words to, in this video. Another con is that people are always going to sit there and try to tell you and give you, their opinions of what they think you should do with your life. Probably more so than they would an able-bodied person. Partially because as a disabled person, we have to prove ourselves. I had to prove myself in high school. I had to prove myself in college. And I'm having to prove myself, as an adult woman. Well, I am an adult woman. I've been an adult woman for 10 years now. But I had to prove myself in college that I was mature enough and stuff to go and do college classes. I had to prove myself to my parents and everybody around me that I was mature enough to make, decisions for myself. And yes, like I said, as I progress in life, we're trying to figure out a plan for the future. And I am in no way sitting here saying what that plan is, because honestly, I don't know. And I don't think I'll share that plan with anyone on YouTube, because like I said, it's a public forum. It's nobody's business. But I think as a disabled individual, it's good to know the following things: your strengths or weaknesses, both ends of the spectrum, what you can and can't do for yourself. Be honest with yourself and the people around you. Factor in your age a little bit, because depending on your disability, it may progress. I know for me specifically that CP does not progress. Yes, age is a factor. There are certain things, certain injuries that I've had over the years that are more factorish? That's not even a word. I'm sorry. More factored into why I am like I am today than the actual disability itself. And I won't go into those details for right now because I don't feel it necessary to discuss my medical history. You know? But I also think, trying new things and seeing what you can do for yourself. I try every day. Just yesterday, I was in the kitchen, helping make dinner. And my parents were honestly, yes, they had to modify some things and figure things out. But I was able to do things. And they know I'm able to do some things in the kitchen. But like I said, as I progress in life, they're trying to figure out what all I can do in a kitchen. Safely. Wisely. So that I don't injure myself or burn myself or goodness forbidness, that's not even a word. God forbid, burn the house down. Which I don't anticipate doing, but you never know. Being assertive. That's the other thing. If there's any tips I can give to anybody with a disability, be assertive about your needs and what you want out of your life. Because this is your life. It's not anybody else's. I struggle with a little bit with assertiveness, which nobody would know because, like I said, I have an assistance dog that I have to be assertive with every day or he ain't gonna listen to me. He is a lab and Labradors can be stubborn. But he's a very good dog and I love him dearly. He's given me a lot in my life. He walked with me at my graduation. If you're interested, I can link the video. But that's neither here nor there. But yeah, that's basically what I wanted to get into, and I apologize if I've in any way forgotten anything or if I've come off as standoffish. But if you have any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to write them in the comments and I'll do what I can to answer. Thank you for watching. Comments are welcome and have a nice day.